Hello, I'm Shelby Cobb, and today I'm going to talk to you about my view for public education and its future. So, when I first got started on this information, I had some guiding questions that really led me in a direction of what I thought the future should be for education. So, first, I wanted to look at what are some of the graduation requirements and how are they set. So, through my research, I found that each district and each state sets their own requirements. The state has like the requirements that have to be met by every district, but districts can set more strict standards for their students. And so it's very different across each of the different states. Some of the lowest requirements are about 13 credits to graduate from high school, while on the high end it's around 24, 25 credits that are required for the state for students to graduate high school. I also wanted to look at how can we make those learning requirements beneficial to students. I know that sometimes when students graduate, they don't really feel like they've learned everything that they need. So how can we change those to make them more beneficial to those students? I also wanted to look at why are we forcing students to learn information that may not be the most beneficial for their futures, because sometimes they're not really interested in the information that we're trying to teach them and it's not going to benefit their future. So what is the purpose behind learning it besides teaching them how to think? What is really the purpose, and could we do it a better way so that students are really only having to work through information that's important to them rather than jumping through all of these hoops? I also wanted to look at how my background influences my view on education. I was homeschooled until high school, so I have a much different view of education in general because I see that learning can take place in a much more flexible way, and it can be very deep learning that really gets you thinking, where sometimes the more structured form just really prevents some of that deep learning, because in public school there's a lot of wasted time for behavioral issues and things that could be better spent other ways. So, in looking at that, I was trying to determine some alternative methods of education because I know that I was really blessed with homeschooling, and not everybody has that as a possibility for deeper learning. And private education is really expensive too, so that's not really an option. So then what are the options? The option that I found that I think could be really beneficial for public education would be related to the Montessori method. So with the Montessori method, it's a very flexible learning method created by Dr. Maria Montessori, who was one of the first female doctors in Europe. So with Maria Montessori's method, she is letting kids learn at their own pace and in their own way. She developed this method through working with students that had special needs or had learning developmental disabilities, and she really was able to get lots of deep learning through to these students that others had said couldn't learn, and she proved them wrong through showing that they could. They just learned it in a different way. So why does it work? It's going to be a more natural form of learning. If you look up at this picture in the corner, what these students are doing is playing with blocks is essentially what they're doing, but they're learning deep math skills at the same time. They're learning about space, they're learning about numbers, they're learning about like different multiplication and division through playing with blocks. And that seems so contradictory or so opposite of the educational system that we have in place right now, because learning can take place in I don't want to say unstructured ways, but less structure through more activity-based learning. And with this, it also kind of goes back to when in life do we tell people to stop learning. Most of the time in a job or in a work setting or in life in general, people are going to continue learning and continue working on a skill until they grasp the information. In public education, we don't have the time or the ability to really work with a student on a specific topic until every student grasps it. And that's just not a possible thing. But with a more Montessori-based, more flexible learning model, or more career-based learning model, it could really help students grasp the information that we are trying to teach them. It could also provide more time with one teacher. The models that I looked up related to the Montessori method, they spend a total of 3 years with the same teacher. So that's really good because they get to know the teacher, they get to understand what they're really doing, and to continue like growing and working with that teacher so that teacher knows what they understand and is able to help further their knowledge based off of their interests. Where if they move through the different teachers more quickly, that doesn't really work because the teacher would have to spend so much time getting to know each student. It also could incorporate all different subjects into a specific type of assignment or task. So along with the Montessori method, what they're doing is giving them things to manipulate, things to work with, and they're continuing to find solutions with those manipulatives. One of the ways that you could do something like this at the high school level, while they're not going to be like playing with blocks and things, they could instead work on project-based assignments where, like, say, for example, they are building a roller coaster. They could wrap in fashion and design and marketing. They could wrap in physics and a lot of complex math and all different types of skills, reading and writing, like floor planning. All of this information could be wrapped up in a project like that they are, and they could pick a specific topic that they're interested in and continue that and see it through to fruition. I mean, obviously they wouldn't build a roller coaster, but that's the gist of it. In the U.S., the Montessori type method could work. It would have to be more college and career focused. In the UK, they focus on students going to high school, and the first 2 years are focused on like getting their like college or high school diploma, and then the last 2 is focused on industry recognized credentials like work-based credentials or getting an associate's degree. The United States could move to something more of that nature that would really help students to grasp the information and really get the knowledge and skills that they need to further their futures. It could also work because it's going to tap into their skills again, where right now we're not really tapping into their skills. Everybody's learning the same thing at the same rate or at the same time. This would focus more on what they need to know and how they need to know it. It could also be much more collaborative. In the United States, jobs are becoming more collaborative. People need to know how to work together. And the school system that we have set up right now, people work alone a lot of the times, where it should be much more collaborative so that they know how to work with others and solve complex problems. We would obviously have to change some of the learning targets to meet the future goals, and they would have to be flexible based off of students and based off of learning goals, but that would be the format. Why would it be beneficial and relate to P-20? It would be beneficial because students are learning what they need to know, not making every student the same. We're not the same, and I don't know why we focus so much on trying to meet or every student meeting the same standard, because we're not the same people and we shouldn't be the same. We should kind of glory in our differences. It could also lower education costs for the future. Right now, we spend so much money on getting students through high school, getting students beginning level college, where that could be wrapped up in one. They would no longer need an associate's degree because they could be getting that while they're in high school still. It could provide choice for learners. Students are going to learn what they need to know. It could also provide teachers with less burnout because they're not forcing students to know what's not important to them or what they don't care about, or trying to get students to learn something that they're not mentally created for. I was never created for science until we related it to food, and then I understand it, but that's a different thing. And then students would get support in their career program at an earlier time. Right now, we wait until students are, well, we work through with students until high school, and then as soon as they hit high school and graduate, they're done. They kind of are free to figure things out on their own. Where if we continued a program like this, we would be helping them for their pretty much the next 2 years of their futures, getting them into what pathway that they want. Some problems that I could foresee would be that students don't always know what they want to do for their futures, but we could still provide them a leg up. Even if it's something that they completely change their minds on, they're still learning a skill that they could use to financially push them towards their future. It may take a different type of resources, but it would probably be about the same cost, considering how much we invest in high school and how much we invest in associates programs or community colleges. Those could be almost combined into one so that students are getting the skills that they need. So that's my thoughts for public education. I hope you enjoyed.